It's cheap. Like Shakespeare said, to field or not to field? That is the question. And if you decided that you want to field, then of course we will want to do it with the superior troop type there is. Infantry. So in this video I will guide you through your infantry journey from all the way in preparation season until multiple infantry marches in the season of Conquest, talking about commanders, pairs, talents, equipment, armaments and even civilizations. Welcome to the ultimate infantry open field guide. Starting in the preparation season, there's basically two ways in which you can build your infantry march. The first one being towards low spenders and free to plays, the second being towards the high spenders and the whales. For free to play and low spenders, definitely get yourself Sinzu and pair him with Effort. This combines makes probably one of the best free to play early game marches which you can get. Both are really easy to obtain via the expedition mode, Effort being completely obtainable free to play. Sanzu offers a great AoE active skill to up to 5 enemy troops in a fan with a damage factor of 800 with his expertise, which is really solid. Also, every troop hit by a skill, you gain 50 rage, which is great towards getting those fast cycles. His third skill also important as you take 10% less general damage and your infantry units gain 10% health. Also your fourth skill makes you deal up to 20% more skill damage. Compared with Ethelflaed, who offers a 180-degree area of effect, also with the damage factor of 800, she has probably one of the best early game debuffs, reducing attack, defense and health by the targets for 30% for 2 seconds. She also offers some counter-attack damage reduction and some general march speed reduction. As of the talent tree for Sanzu, you would want to run a build which is pretty similar to mine, focusing on the skill side of the tree with 5 out of 5 feral nature and 3 out of 3 rejuvenate to gain as much rage as possible for those skill cycles being fastest. The rest of the points you can align to infantry, either to hold the line to make your march a bit more tanky. Of course you can also grab yourself some extra stats, some extra rage and do extra damage. Something you could also do is change the points from hold the line to fleet of foot to gain a lot of march speed, especially in the early game. It is important as your infantry march is still really slow. For the whalish or high spender side of the infantry march, of course you're gonna run charts. Martell charts is really easy to get via the Mightiest Governor event, which should not be a problem, especially when you're a whale or a high spender. You can run him starting at 5-5-1-1, having a lot of stats and a pretty nice shield. Also you're getting some counter-attack damage bonus with the fourth skill, but that's not really as important. For the talent tree, you would want to run a similar tree that I put here. Chance Marshal really is slow, so focus on getting the march speed up. As you don't have a skill tree, you do not need to put as much in the blue side. Also, just get some of the studio formation, balance and loose formation to just take less damage in general. As for the secondary pairing to this march, you can either go with Ethelflaed, Sanzu or YSG, who is probably the best early game commander you could invest in. Especially he needs to be expertise to get us 50% more skill damage and this iconic 360-degree AoE which just shreds to the field. You do not need to place him behind Martel. You could also, as a free-to-play or a low spender, if you have enough heads, play him behind Sanzu to create an AoE monster with 70% more skill damage dealt. Let's have a look at the infantry equipment now, which you want to run, starting with the foundation set, which you just craft immediately after you can, basically. And with that, we are now doing some upgrades to KVK 1 and then KVK 2 until the season of Conquest, and make it at your own flow. Some might be a little bit faster with obtaining these materials and the legendary blueprints, some might be slower, so just adjust it based on your preferences and what you need. But the first item which you want to upgrade is the chestplate. You're gonna upgrade to the Hope Cloak. The Hope Cloak is really easy to obtain, gained via the crystal chests or the loots and scroll. It's $5 and it gives so much value. 12 defense is a lot. A big upgrade for the KVK 1. Next piece which you want to upgrade is the Helmet of the Eternal Empire. It gives also a lot of defense as well, and you want to upgrade to the Helmet of the Eternal Empire to start building the set bonus, because when you have 4 pieces of Eternal Empire, you will get 10% march speed, which is essential for the infantry. Because of that, we won't go later towards the infantry KVK weapon or the KVK helmet. This is an option you could do in theory as well, but for the open field it's just not optimal. After that, we're probably entering KVK 1 by now, so you want to grab yourself an accessory. You don't have all these shiny ones, but you have a really important one. It's the Call of the Loyal, and until it's being replaced, it will serve well. It gives you march speed. Because infantry is so slow, it really gives you great value. After that, you ride in the fighting of KVK 1, maybe also a bit above, maybe you're earlier and you want to do some smaller upgrades as well, then I would recommend you getting the Zeph's Brutality. Zeph's Brutality, if you crit it, and that's something in general for all the epic and the rare pieces, always try to special talent them. If you special talent the epic gloves, they will give as much as the Eternal Empire Vambraces, and as such you don't need to upgrade them right away. So let's have a look at the civilizations, and there also is two options. Like the marches, there is one option for the free-to-play and low spenders and one for the high spenders, and the overall probably the better civilization will be France. France provides you a general troop health increase by 4% and also a hospital healing speed increase by 20%. Also, it has a throwing axeman as an infantry special units, which are one of the best special units in the game. The other option would be the Ottoman Empire, as in the early game still 99% of the commanders deal skill damage. The commander skill damage increasing by 5% would do a lot. Although it does not have anything specific for infantry. Maybe the march speed, which also could give you some value. It just depends on if you do not want to play with multiple marches. If you play with infantry only, I would rather go and get France. If you have like a lot of cavalry or even archer units as well, I would recommend you go to the Ottoman Empire. And just like that, you have entered the Season 2. In the Season 2, there now is again two options in which you can build your march and progress even further. And it all depends on a past decision which you have made. Wise young guy. And if you have made them, then the option which you should continue now is to grab yourself Alexander the Great as well. Alexander offers a great shield for 4 seconds, also some smaller shields for nearby allies, and of course with his expertise you have a great debuff. The enemy troops take 30% more damage for 4 seconds. His second skill gives you a really nice insta-proc with a direct damage factor of 1700, also healing reduction of 30%. The third skill gives you really a great amount of march speed, 30%, which is almost unrivaled with infantry commanders. Also a 30% infantry attack bonus, which is great as well. The fourth skill, which is somewhat unique, because if you have a shield you gain 40% attack, if you do not have a shield you gain 30 defense. Basically it's 3 stats. He's a stat stick, he does well with YSG. It's a pairing which I would personally recommend. It's probably the best pairing. You might have some issues with the flow of the formation, but I will explain it just in a bit. If you have done YSG, this is the commander you should expertise. Funnily enough, the other option also has you investing in an expertising him, because the second option would be if you still have universal sculptures left, you did not do YSG, you now get a new commander who was recently revamped and put into Season 2, RoK. RoK wasn't that good until recently, and now he's doing smite damage, and he's not doing bit smite damage, he's doing a lot for KVK2. He has a AoE up to 3 enemy troops and a fan, and also they can get silenced if they have less than 30% units remaining. His AoE is insane, with 1500 being crazy for KVK2. This commander you can play at 5511 or even 555 depending on what amount of universal sculptures you have. He also gives 15% march bonus and 40% attack. His third skill gives you, whenever you take skill damage, smite damage or combo attack damage, a 30% up to 50% chance to reduce the incoming damage by 50%, which is just insane. Because of that, it's probably with a cooldown of 10 seconds to balance it. He is crazy. Fourth skill, which you could get when you have a lot of universal sculptures left, then you deal up to 15% more normal damage, which is basically 15% more smite damage. And also you have, whenever you launches a basic attack against a field troop, you have up to a 100 chance, so basically your guaranteed chance to cleanse, like remove 1 debuff from yourself. The expertise is enhancing the skill Stalwart, which was the third skill. Basically, what you get is you reduce the damage by 50% and also now have the heal smite damage of up to 3 enemy nearby troops in a fan. Basically, it's a nice insta-proc which you can get. It's not a must-have though, so 555 would do you much fine. In terms of the formation which you now have access to in the Season 2, I'll show you what I meant with the problem. Let's have a look at if you want to run Alex YSG, both do skill damage via the insta-proc or the active of YSG, you would play the wedge formation. You have a lot of nice legendaries which you can get, but the problem is that you deal more skill damage. While fine for that much, the future of the infantry is Smite. So after going into the Season 3 and having then Season of Conquest Commander access, you will no longer need the wedge formation. Sure, for Ragnar Scipio it would be great, but with the new releases you will only get more Smite commanders. Then you would need to build an entire new formation for the new commander. If you're unlucky, you get like 1 out of 10 in the wish list and like 2 out of 10, which is setting you back like 300 legendary for the counter in which you can get the next rare or special inscription. It hurts. So instead, when you're going with RoK and Alex, you should pick the pincer formation to deal 10% more smite damage. You again have all those funny, nice legendary inscriptions, and you won't have a problem transitioning from KvK 2 to KvK 3 to the Season of Conquest. Also, while we're at it, let's have a look at the talent tree for RoK. In this case, it's by the talent tree is the same. You just saw my RoK was not leveled yet. You just go full in smite damage, get those rage reduction, get those extra damage increase. And the rest of the points you can allocate to the infantry sections where you could go. Hold the line. In this case, I just did the fleet of foot, so the march speed build to make your infantry faster. It's still slow even in KvK 2. Sure, Alex does a lot, but going into KvK 3 and 4, it will always be one of the slowest troop types. And let's upgrade some equipment again. We have now a pretty good set actually, which in theory we could also use in later KvKs, but of course it's always gonna be better. The next upgrade we're gonna do is replace the boots with the sturdy boots of the Eternal Empire. We're getting some minor stat upgrades, and also we now have a 2-piece set bonus for the Eternal Empire, so we even get 3% troop defense on top. Also, I forgot to mention, you could also like make Delane's Amulet or Silent Trial or Ancient Stratagems as a second accessory in pre-Season of Conquest, but to be fair, those do not really do too much. It's a nice to have, but not a must. The next thing you would upgrade is the gloves, which is surprising as it does not give you, if you have the Zeth's Brutality special talent, an upgrade in the stats. However, you now at 3 out of 4 for the troop set bonus, means only 1 piece left to upgrade the Gatekeeper's Shield, and then you're gonna get your 4th set bonus, so 10% march speed. This would be the next update if you are not in the Season of Conquest yet. I now think this is a good set to run in KvK 2 and KvK 3, so the next upgrade probably even be before Season of Conquest. It's gonna be the shield. You now have the 10% more march speed. You get a lot of attack extra. See you in the next season. Congrats, you made it into basically Season of Conquest Light. You still need to live through the probably worst KvK there is, Light versus Dark. But you now have access to all these Season of Conquest commanders. And you're probably thinking, how do I obtain them? Like, it's so much and I just spent my universals. That's what the Gathering of Heroes is for. The event lets you recruit commanders, like the infantry commanders. You can unlock 2, 3, probably as much as you want. It just depends on your spending level, and you want to, because you also have the commander swap. In the commander swap you can get the commanders you just obtained and swap previous commanders around. So your expertise Alexander the Great now becomes an expertise Liu Che. For the Gathering of Heroes, the first recruitment cost 100 points, the second and third cost 500. This is important, as by G you can easily obtain for the first unlock is a tier 0 commander, so you do not need any commander unlock before. But to get YSG, you need to be tier 1. Of that, you need 2 commanders recruited before. So what other commander to get? It could probably be like Philip. If you're gonna be an inf main, play a lot of infantry matches, Philip has a space, has a slot in your meta in the future, so unlocking him as well does not really hurt. Of course, you can also like get yourself an Outer Pendragon and also the other stuff which is available. Why should I unlock the Raichi and the Liu Jin, who has priority for the commander swap, for the commander which is more expertise? Let's have a look at Baichi first. Baichi has a great active skill with 2400 smite damage factor, which is incredible, up to 5 enemy troops. Each target has a 30% chance to take 15% extra damage. Second skill gives you a lot of stats, 20% march speed, 10% health, 40% attack. The third skill gives you, whenever you attack a troop on the map, a lot of malice. Again, 10% stacks of malice whenever you use an active skill, and if the number of malice stacks is higher, malice is like a counter, then the target percentage of units remaining, you spend 10 stacks of malice and deal extra smite damage to the target with a damage factor of 300. You also gain 10% bonus to severe wounds inflicted and a 20% bonus to rage recovery speed for 1 second. The fourth skill is also great because you deal 10% more normal damage, which means 10% more smite. And also when attacking a field troop, you gain 10% stack of malice upon entering combat and 10% stacks of malice every time you lose 10% of your units. Also a 5% bonus to smite damage dealt up to 30% for every 10% below max unit. So if you lose 10%, you get 5%. When you lose 20%, you get 10% and so on. The expertise, and that's why he is lower priority to Liu Che to be expertise with the commander swap. It's pretty much a whale thing. The first part, after severely wounding 400,000 units, all barbarian units defeat count as well, so you can cheese it somewhat before a fight. You gain a 5% bonus to normal damage dealt. When reduced to 50% of your units, you deal 60% more damage and take 30% less damage. When reduced to 15% units, you deal 100% more damage and take 50% less damage. It's all for the next 6 seconds. Having a look at Liu Che, his active smite damage factor is a bit lower at 250, but the enemy troops hit by this skill lose 40% march speed for 3 seconds. The second skill gives your infantry units 20% more defense. Also, if you're only an infantry march, which you should of course have, no other mixed is gonna be in there, you gain 20% march speed and take 20% less skill damage. The third skill, whenever you attack a troop on the map, you gain 20% infantry attack, and also whenever the troop, so your troop, launch a basic attack, you have a 25% chance to deal extra smite damage with a damage factor of 300 to the target. The fourth skill, if you are on the map, you deal 10% more normal damage, and also whenever you deal smite damage, all targets deal 10% less damage for 3 seconds. So if you had 5 targets with the AoE, then all these targets deal 10% less damage for the next 3 seconds. And the expertise is what makes him so incredibly good. He's a rage gaining machine because if you're on the map, whenever your troop Liu Che launches a basic attack, you have a 25% chance to launch an extra combo attack with a damage factor of 200, so it's basically not a basic attack, just without an incoming counter attack then, and you gain 1 basic attack worth of rage. You can trigger the skill once per second. The talent tree I've already shown to you, but just a recap in case we're gonna give them some more march speed, or you can go to hold the line. Of course, it just depends on what you want. And of course, we're gonna fold this knight tree. Let's have a look at the gear before coming towards how to play multiple infantry marches. Okay, so by now you're season 4 as well. There is not really anything to upgrade except the accessories. So we're gonna grab ourselves Horn of Fury to get some more range, and the second accessory which we're gonna do is the Ring of Doom. Last piece to upgrade, which I almost forgot last time I recorded this, like the previous attempt, and did not even think about it, is replacing the Karak's Humility with the Eternal Knight. The Eternal Knight is so bad that it's the last piece. Of course, once you iconic level 2, level 3, level 4, it's gonna get more value than the Karak's Humility. But until then, you want to keep the Karak's Humility standing there. You can also even work on other sets, like example, have a second infantry set, you can go and equip the helmet of the Conqueror, and you get the Hammer of the Sun and Moon. Extra sets, you lose out on march speed. And even then, the Eternal Knight would not be there. You would do Karak's Humility first. Look like this. This is basically a complete set. The Eternal Knight is not a flex slot, but it's the last piece you do. Also by now, you can probably play multiple marches, like 2 infantry, 3 infantry. Above that, I would not go, but let's have a look. For the 1 infantry, we already established that either in season 3 or season 4, we play Bai Chi and Liu Che. It's the most incredible infantry march out there. That's really great. For 2 sets, you would go like Bai Chi and play him with Philip. Philip, I already said you could unlock. He does great. He gives some extra damage reduction and damage bonus, but his expertise is the ones which really helps, because you have a 20% chance for the other commander to trigger the active skill once again. So like, you activate the active skill of Bai Chi, you do a lot of damage, then he does his expertise, his chance, it goes through, and then you have your active again. For the second match, then you would play Liu Che and pair him with Alexander the Great. Alexander the Great is still viable, even in Conquest is probably one of the best cheeseburging marches out there. You have not heard that from me, but he is still paired with Liu Che, the GOAT. For third match, you would put Ragnar Lodbrok and pair him with Scipio Africanus. Just an additional march you can add onto it just to have the set complete. Those are skill damage commanders, so you're gonna do and put the wedge formation on it. Also, you could in theory play with older commanders like Guan Yu paired with Scipio, or Guan Yu paired with Ragnar Lodbrok if you do not have all the meta commanders, or also you could use William Wallace like paired with Bai Chi instead of the Philip. Last but not least, while doing my daily canyon, if you liked it, please consider subscribing to my channel to see more of the content about the game I do. Also, if you want to have a look at like other guides I did join the King's Codex Discord, link is down below, to find like sheets for the gear progression of Openfield, archers, cavalry and infantry. But also on the screen there should be a video of a guide I did about Xin Shi Huang, the new commander, and how to play him if you are interested in how 1000 days offer an account can look like. Check the link down below. Else, thank you guys for watching. See you in the next one. Peace out.